Hey guys, it's me, Miss Norris, and today I'd like to share a fun read aloud with you of the story Armadillo Ray. The story Armadillo Ray was written in 1995 by John Beifuss and illustrated by Peggy Turley, and it tells the story of a little armadillo named Ray. If you're ready to hear the story, I'm ready to share it with you. Here we go. Armadillo Ray. See the little armadillo face. Armadillo Ray lived in the desert, where the tumbleweeds rolled past like children turning somersaults. Like all armadillos, Ray liked to explore at night, when the fierce sun had gone to bed. He would scamper across the cool rocks and dig in the sand with his strong young paws. When he saw a cactus, he pretended he was a bad guy. "Stick 'em up," he would say. Ray was an imaginative armadillo. So armadillos do like to come out at night when it's cooler. They typically live in dry places, and in particular in Texas. And Ray likes to use his imagination and pretend that he's telling the cactus to put his arms up, put your hands up, stick them up. Let me get that picture good for you. Ray was also an inquisitive armadillo. Often he would peer into the clear night sky and contemplate the moon. Some nights the moon was full and round and white, like a blossom on the saguaro cactus where the owls lived. It made the armored shell on Ray's back shine like pebbles in a stream. Other nights, the moon was a half circle, like the smile of a kit fox reflected sideways in a pool. Or it was only a silver sliver, like the stinger on the tail of a scorpion. Armadillo Ray was puzzled. What was this magic thing in the sky? How could it have so many shapes? Ray decided to ask the other desert dwellers about the moon. So our sweet little Ray likes to use his imagination, but he also likes to ask questions. And right now, his biggest question is about the moon. How can it be so many different shapes? It must be magic. But before he decides that it's magic, he's going to ask the other desert dwellers. I like this book because it's kind of like camouflage, and you have to look to see the other animals. There's snakes, several of them in this page. The first night Ray sought an answer, he came across his friends, the snakes. They were dancing. They whipped their snaky bodies into the air. "Hello," said Ray. "Hello," said the snakes. "I have a question," said Ray. "What is the moon?" The snakes are all dancing, and he asks them, "What is the moon?" "What a silly question for a young armadillo," the snakes said. "Everybody knows the moon is a great serpent that can twist in many different shapes. Some nights it coils into a tight round ball. Tonight it has bent itself into a shiny crescent. Once the serpent was stretched across the land like a great white belt. But the land began filling up with people. The people crawled across the serpent like fleas on a coyote. They made the serpent itch, so it crawled up into the sky." So the snakes say that the way that you explain that the moon has lots of different shapes is that a snake is up there, and sometimes it's coiled in a circle, and sometimes it's turned into a crescent, And the reason it's up there is because it used to spread out across the whole land like a belt of light. But then the people started coming and living on it, and it made the serpent itchy, and it crawled up into the night sky. Then the snakes curled and corkscrewed into hoops and crescents in imitation of the great serpent. "I can do that!" Ray shouted, and he did. But Ray was not convinced that the moon was a great white serpent. He decided to seek another opinion. So Ray says, "Wow, you guys, thanks for showing me all this. And it really goes a lot to show that you serpents here on Earth can make all those shapes that the moon does, but so can I. Armadillos like to roll into little balls, kind of like a roly-poly." A few nights later, Armadillo Ray traveled deeper into the desert. Soon, he came to a prairie dog burrow. "Hello!" called Ray. "Hello," answered the prairie dog. "I have a question," said Ray. "What is the moon?" "Oh, what a silly question for a young armadillo," the prairie dog said. "Everyone knows that the moon is the entrance to a great burrow in the sky. The father of all prairie dogs lives at the bottom. He sleeps during the day and keeps the light on at night. Sometimes the door to his burrow is only open a crack. He opens it a little more each day. It is half open tonight. In a few nights it will be wide open. A bright white circle of light." So for the prairie dog, the moon is a giant burrow, and the great prairie dog lives in there and opens the door just a little bit each day until it's all the way open and then closes it. The great prairie dog used to live deep in the center of the world, but now there are too many roads. The cars and the trucks became so noisy he could not sleep. So he left our world and dug a hole in the sky. If you watch long enough, you can see him poke his head out. Armadillo Ray and the prairie dog watched the moon move across the sky. But the friends did not see a great prairie dog stick his head out. "There must be too many cars tonight," said the prairie dog. Ray nodded. Still, he was not convinced that the moon was the entrance to the home of a great prairie dog. He decided to keep searching for an answer. So, just like the serpents, the prairie dog thinks that the moon is related to them. And that once that this great prairie dog lived deep in the middle of the earth, but the cars and the trucks made it too noisy, and so it went up into the sky and dug a burrow there. And Ray's still not convinced that it's a snake or a prairie dog, so he's going to keep on looking. Several nights later, Ray returned to his quest. He soon saw a sage grouse spinning in the brush. She was spreading her wings and ruffling her tail feathers. "Hello," said Ray. "Hello," said the grouse. "I have a question," said Ray. "What is the moon?" "Oh, what a silly question for a young armadillo," said the grouse. Excuse me. "Everybody knows that the moon is a giant egg. The grouse who laid it used the sky as a nest because the desert was too small. And beyond the desert are buildings and steamboats and bridges, things a young armadillo like you wouldn't know about." So he's met a grouse, which is a type of bird, and she says that that everybody knows the moon is an egg, and that the grouse who laid it up in the sky because the desert wasn't big enough, and if you went past the desert, there was things that young armadillos don't understand, like towns and buildings and busy stuff. The moon is a magic egg, the grouse continued. It grows smaller and larger and larger and smaller. Over and over and over. But it has never hatched. One day, it will crack open and the world's largest grouse will come out. Won't that be the day? Before Ray could reply, he heard a noise. It was an owl who lived in a nearby cactus. "Ha!" said the owl. "Don't listen to that grouse, or the snakes, or the prairie dog, or the others. I will tell you about the moon." Ray was happy. Owls are wise, Ray thought. He will know what the moon is. So the grouse says that egg is a magic egg. It gets bigger and smaller over and over. It's never hatched. But when it does, imagine the world's biggest grouse baby. And the owl says, "Stop. Let me tell you, everyone is wrong, and I will tell you the truth." And Ray says, "Yeah, I believe that, because owls are smart." The owl began to talk. He used words Ray had never heard before. On and on he talked. The night began to slip away. Armadillo Ray listened and tried to understand. Fingers of color scratched the darkness from the sky. The moon disappeared and the sun came up. So the owl's using words like waxing, orbit, phases, lava, 29 and a half days, crescent, cycle, craters, 2,160 miles, full moon, waning, month, more than 76 kilometers, 4.2 billion years old, reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, this owl isn't just telling a story. He's delivering science. And that science has made Ray tired. The owl finished his story. He looked down from the cactus. Ray was lying on the ground, his head on his paws. Ray knew the owl was wise, and he believed the owl had told him the truth. But somehow, the owl's story seemed the most unbelievable of all. Ray was a tired armadillo. As Ray closed his eyes in sleep, the moon rose again in his dreams. It seemed to be a great, shining armadillo. The end. So, the owl's story seemed true, but also unbelievable. And in the end, Ray was tired. And when he dreamed that that moon was an armadillo, just like countless other animals and people have believed for millions and millions of years. People and animals tell stories to talk about how things come to be, and the moon is no exception. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the story Armadillo Ray, please hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of the page. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, click that subscribe button down there at the bottom of the page. And don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified when there's new content. I hope to see you all again real soon and keep dreaming about what that moon is and where it came from. Bye-bye.